I got the first comment asking me how to get started in the world of data. And while this is not what I am trying to communicate in this series of videos, I think it's interesting that someone found the channel and someone actually posted a comment there. I cannot actually give general advice about how to get in the world of data because I think there are many different paths that can lead you there. What I will tell a little bit in this video is my own path in this world. How do I got where I am today? While I have not qualified myself in any of these videos, I just began to roll them and with the hope that people might find them useful, but obviously if people don't see credentials or know who you are, they won't trust what you're saying, you know. It's like in this triangle of rhetoric. You have the ethos, who you are, you have the logos, is your arguments, and you have the pathos, which is the emotions that you convey. And I've been focusing only on the logos part, so it's in the argumental part, not so much on the ethos or the emotions. But today I want to talk a little bit about who am I and why I'm doing this video, so how I came here. I work for a big tech company, a really big tech company, in the area of data and AI, and I support companies with technology strategy. And I go sometimes in the area of data and AI. That's what I do for a living. I will post in the description section my LinkedIn profile, and perhaps I put it somewhere here in the video. So if you are interested in checking it out, then you know where I work, you know, have some idea of what my work is. But how I got there was really interesting. I was interested in computers from a really early age. I was born in Cuba. That's the accent that I have. That's my English accent. It's a Cuban accent. And I began to deal with computers, I think at the age of 10, probably. It was super early, and it was these MSX keywords that were smart and you will type in there. And the first thing I tried to do there was a game. I found computer games. There were these cartridge games that you would play, and there were some kung fu games and auto racing games. That was super fun. And that was me being a kid. I was lacking the math, but I was really interested in the magic of being able to have your own little world inside of the computer. And then some time happened. I keep learning. I learned BASIC. MSX BASIC was the first programming language that I learned. But then I went over in my life to do other things. I was learning physics. I was competing in physics. For those folks that know that there is something like the Physics Olympics, I was competing nationally in Cuba to classify to those things. I never made it. But I think I even won once a regional championship. So yeah, I was in the physics world and not so much in the programming. I had it in the back of my head because as a kid, as I mentioned before, I think with 10 or so, it was really fun. And then I studied physics. And in physics, you learn some programming. We had C and we have Pascal at the time, and assembler. Because, well, you need to program microcontrollers if you're designing an experiment, if you're building some machines, you need to know that sort of thing. And this is when I had my first exposure to Linux. So there were a lot of Linux machines there. Obviously in Cuba, you know, having access to Windows was probably not even allowed. And open source was the way to go there. And so I had access to Linux. I got interested in the internet. I think I had access, the first time I saw the internet was in 1998 in one institute in Havana that was specialized in mathematics and physics. EasyMath was the name of the institute. I began to get really interested in how this works and this portal to the world outside of Cuba that at the time, you know, we were pretty isolated, even if we didn't know about it, but you know, it's an island, it has a, you know, it's a socialist island, the government is different. So that was my my portal, so to speak, into the world, and I was fascinated and I wanted to understand the technology that powered that. Fast forward, I did my thesis work to finish my master's studies as a physicist. Then there we were using a cluster of machines to do some optimizations and some crystals, and that was what you might think is close to the work that the data analyst does. In fact, in physics, you do a lot of that work. I think physics, while not directly connected to computer science, it's very insightful in that you understand that the world of models, so reality is not the models, but the models help you to describe reality up to a certain extent, and you learn how to build these models. And you can take these skills and transfer them to other domains. After a few years, when I finished, I came to Germany and I was working in some agencies. I think it was a marketing agency when I was living in Dresden, and there I learned to do some ActionScript programming, for Flash. If you remember that, there was these funny partners that you had, or I don't know if funny is the right word, but I think some people got really into their nerves because people hate that thing. But I was working on that ActionScript, very similar to JavaScript, and after a while, I decided to go to the gaming industry. And actually, this is where my journey in the data world began, because I had the privilege, the chance to work in a game that never came public, but we did a bunch of really interesting stuff there. I had the opportunity to build a game engine from scratch. It wasn't not a 3D engine, but it was an isometric engine. There were incredible amount of interesting problems. And after that game sadly was canceled after 2 years of development, I thought, well, what should I do next? And I walked a little bit between one department and the next, and finally I ended up in the community management department. And there we wanted to better understand what was happening with the community of these games. The company I was working for was a company who was doing massive online multiplayer games. You have a huge community and you have forums. At the time we had forums, we were talking here 2012. And these forums, there was a bunch of conversations there. And the idea was how to model the community so we could better understand and make better predictions to optimize our games. The games were free to play, so it was important to be able to take users that were actively playing and convert them to paying customers. And there I actually got into the data world for businesses. This was the first time that actually I began to look at that. And at this time, what you mostly found was business intelligence systems. And business intelligence systems were mainly thought to have these cubes from whom you could take data to actually better understand the business. But it was different from the data science idea in that data science used all kinds of techniques to extract information from data. And I began to do this, and I found it fascinating. I began to do, at first, network analysis. That was the first thing I began to do. And then I began to grow in this role. I began to like it more and more. Then I went to one e-commerce company. I learned a lot there. And then I went to a telco company where I also spent some time in their advanced analytics team. And then I grew fascinated about this combination of psychology, math, analytics, statistics, the kind of models that you could build, and it was just a fascinating world. And at the time, this big company that I'm working now was looking for people who were working in this field, and I got contacted by them, and I began to work at the company. That was 5 years ago. So I've been in this industry almost 10 years now, and it began with games. So my path, I think, is a quite a unique path because I don't have like a classic standard formation, but I also think it's an advantage because I can see problems in a slightly different way. People who come from, say, a master in data science, they learn all these collections of machine learning models, and they have a pretty structured way to look at problems. Sometimes, however, you want to look at problems in a slightly different way. And this is, I think, one of the skills that I have developed. And during the last 5 years, I've tried to develop an understanding of how data fits the business world. Because even if we are all talking about artificial general intelligence and how this is going to change the world, many businesses, especially medium-sized to small businesses, have not been able to leverage analytics. And I'm not even talking about artificial intelligence. I'm just talking about leveraging analytics. And this is something really close to my heart. I would like people to run businesses in a more efficient way. I understand also that the fact that much of these problems for middle and small businesses are in the realm of not big data, but mid-sized small data, these problems are actually much harder to tackle. Because when you have huge amounts of data, then it's easy to make inference. It's easy to train a machine learning model, and it's easy to understand that the data size that you have is representative, and you can actually have that what you're getting is representative of the population that you're analyzing. But if you have a problem where you don't have a lot of data, it gets really complicated. So small businesses have less resources in terms of human capital that allows them to do this kind of analysis. It's not so much on the compute size or on the storage size, but rather on the human capital size. Do they have the people who have the expertise? And on the other side of the question, you have management, the entrepreneurs, people who launch businesses, that many times they are driven by their gut feeling and not by data. And I would like to change that a little bit, contribute a little bit to make these business owners or these entrepreneurs or these managers to think a little bit more in terms of how data can impact their business. So if I can achieve this in any way or form, I'll be very happy. Again, this channel as it's built now is not still the official channel that I want to build. This is just like a playground. I'm experimenting what is the best way to make the videos, what is the best recording technology. For instance, today I'm using this microphone, which is, I think the quality is inferior to the one that I usually use, but allows me for more mobility. So I'm experimenting with formats and things. I'm super happy to get any questions for those of you who are watching these videos, and if you want to contact me on LinkedIn and you want to have a conversation, I'm pretty open to it. At the end of the day, what I want is to give back because I've learned from a lot of people in the internet, at work, and I think many, especially young people in countries where economies are growing now very fast, might benefit to have this view of the world that you can achieve many things if you are data driven. Obviously, you have to be a strong opinion and you have to expose yourself and have empathy toward others so you can understand what kind of problems they have and how you can help them to solve. But also to use data to be effective and to be objective in the solutions that you build, I think is also important. So this is the reason why I'm doing this. I hope this clarifies a little bit why I'm doing these videos, where I come from, what I do for a living. I hope it also qualifies me a little bit. I don't want to run with a banner. I work for a big tech company. That's why you have to believe in everything that I say. Some people do, but I'm not interested in that. I hope if people find this valuable, they will find anyways a way to understand that, I'm coming from a place that I'm trying to deliver my best and help people out there.